Elden Ring is an open world video game, so that means you should be able to fight any boss in any order. The implied direction is to start low and go high, but what if you flipped it? What if you aimed for the highest rune level boss and worked your way backwards until all bosses were defeated? It should work, and I'll be the one to test it. To watch these runs live, follow me on Twitch. We find new ways to play Elden Ring all the time. Also, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Look at all these nice people who didn't realize they weren't subscribed. That could be you next week. It really helps the channel grow. For free. Now, let's start going for our first boss after a little prep time. We're kicking things off as a samurai and doing some pretty standard starting stuff, so while we Cowabunga hit Limgrave, get the crafting kit, horse, and wet knife, let's talk about gatekeepers. They are my natural enemy, and they're also a problem in this game. The highest rune boss in the game is the Elden Beast, worth 500,000 runes, but without glitches, you can't fight it first. You have to beat Godfrey. To fight Godfrey, you have to fight Gideon. To fight Gideon, you have to fight Maliketh, and so on, etc. So, first boss this run is the highest rune level boss you can fight without fighting another boss, the Godskin Apostle at the Divine Tower of Caelid. That's who we're prepping for. So imagine preparing in Fortnite for the Dectus 1 and Fort Pharoth for the Dectus 2. We died to the Pharoth rats on the way out, oof. In 165 boss routing, Grail is considered a boss, so we can't hack her up until it's her turn. Skip Stormveil, not fighting anyone there for a good long while through Liurnia, but pick up some Trina lilies on the way. They're super important for the first boss, kind of important. They end up not being that important. Warp to Bellum, then ride up the elevator to Altus. We won't have runes to buy stones without grinding enemies, and I don't want to do very much of that if I don't have to. Instead, I just grab my main weapon for the run, the Greatstars. That's what we used for our Vigor only run, but let me sing its praises once more. It's a heavy hammer, so it has good stance pressure. It has innate bleed for good damage, and it can be buffed with more bleed. It's a standard weapon, so you can put whatever Ash of War you want on it, provided that Ash of War can go on big hammers, and it heals 1% of your HP every time you hit someone. That actually doesn't really matter, but the rest of the stuff is so good, it's just a little frosting on top of a blood orange cake. Unfortunately, as a standard weapon, it requires standard stones, so here's a good route for you if you don't want to fight a boss, but do want to level up a standard weapon. The Stone Digger Cave will give you all your smithing stone 1s. It's been a while since we came here. The Raya Lucaria Cave has a ton of smithing stone 2s and 3s, and a crystal knife we'll use later for the quick step. But we don't fight the Crystallion, that comes way later. There are more stones scattered through Liurnia to get up to plus 12. I got hit by the lobsters once. For your 4s, check out the Ruin-strewn Oedipus. It might not be for everyone, but it's my favorite mother trucking level in the game. There's even 2 5s here, so now we can get to plus 13. For more 5s, Celia Tunnel has a few. It also has a few Spider-Mans that kill us twice, and the last 5s are in the Altus Tunnel, but don't fight the Crystallions until way later. After scooping up these strength boosting physic tier in Limgrave, we start on 6s. 6s are a little more of a chore before you get into the royal capital. We have to go up Gelmir and get killed by a volcano vent. We're there to bait the bear into giving us 3 6s by breaking the statue. 4 and 5 require a different bear by the Oriza side tomb. That bear also kills us. There's a 6th from the tower outside Redmane Castle. It's way easier to get it when the castle is in party mode, which it should be if you've been to Altus. A 7th behind Jaren. You can talk to him, but don't fight Radahn. He's still several bosses down the list. Oh, also, I'll put the list up on the Patreon if you want to try this run. Lowest tier for everyone. 3 more in the sealed tunnel. I grabbed the Smithing Stone Bell Bearing 2 on the way, just in case, but you need to bait an abductor version to come crash into this statue.
You're a virgin who can't drive.
It's such a bad driver, it runs us over. But we come back and grab our runes and get out. What a thrill climbing these ladders to get the last 2 smithing stones at Snake Eater's house. One is right up the stairs, Giza invades, but we just run away, that works. And the last one is in the town area. That's plus 18. 2 quick 7s on top of the skull by Millicent's Chapel. You think we're done? No, we just made our weapon strong. Now we need to power up our simps. The Fanged Simp Ashes are our starting gift option. They have bleed, they're aggressive, they're our perfect little sons. Our simp sons need the Grave Glovewort. There's a 4 and a 5 in the Caelid Catacombs. My first time in there, I forgot to grab the 5 and grabbed a Ghost 5 instead. Whoopsie. 1 and 2 are in the Tombs of Ward Catacombs, but on our way I grabbed the Turtle Shield and the Poison Mist spell, and hey, 2 Sacred Tears. The weed we need is right inside the door, then another Sacred Tear, and we're back to Gelmir, this time in the Gelmir Hero's Grave. We got Skellingtoned and Charioted, but eventually got out with a 6 and a 7. 9 deaths so far, and we haven't fought a single boss. Only 165 bosses to go. 2. After picking up the 5 we forgot in the Caelid Catacombs, we get Bart and Lisa as high as we can before hitting the mountaintops. But if you thought weed was good, wait until you try pot, specifically sleep pots. All those Trina lilies we've been picking up are going to make the first boss free, more or less. Let's just run around and buy as much pot as we can, just to be safe. And after roughly 2.5 hours of prep, we're done prepping.
I can't believe it's all over. What do we do now? What do you mean? Now we can finally play the game.
The first boss is at the basement of the Divine Tower of Caelid, and I died climbing up the outside. Not a great start. The top gives us a Newman rune, our only real source of levels at the beginning of the game since we can't cheese any bosses. Apparently Grail counts as a boss on Fextra Life. I hate that. Inside is even worse. All the enemies are scaled for the Dragon Barrow, or a little less than Crumbling Faram Azula if you're going by areas you have to go to. Fun, but that goes fine. Climbing outside is hard, but falling down the death trap goes fine. Weird. Now, the Godskin Apostle is our first boss, and it's susceptible to sleep. So I knock it out and poison it. Not sure if that'll wake it up. It doesn't. Let's go. That means this should be free. How much damage does an effective poisoning do? Let's just Google that real quick. Okay, so quick math, it should only have 12,000 of 13,000 HP left. Guess we gotta try something else. The Blood Flame Blade will make it bleed fast, and a few charged attacks as it wakes up gets a stance break, but I died trying to roll into the phase 2 spin. It's a risky move, but you gotta be risky if you're fighting this boss early. Try again, same issue, and we're using more pots. I tried it with the Simp Sons, but that also didn't work, and now we're out of pot. I guess I could look up where to find more Trina lilies, but honestly, our damage is fine. We just have to get hit less. It only takes us 2 more tries. Playing honestly, cheesing with the sleep cost us 3 deaths. Remember, never cheese, just get good, especially if you're lactose intolerant like I am. We take another death on the way to Flame Grant Me Strength, which will boost our fire and physical damage by 20% each for 30 seconds. Doesn't last very long, but neither do we at this point, and really we don't need it to. After picking up the Flame of the Redmanes to turn our Greatstars into goodness gracious Greatstars of Fire, we scoop up another pickle and head to beat down the Putrid Avatar in the Dragon Barrow. I regularly hit this boss for the runes early, so we don't even take a death. 2 down. Next one is a bit more concerning. That's the Blackblade Kindred outside of the clergyman's house. Parsonage is the word, by the way, if you're looking for a good Scrabble score. This thing is immune to bleed, but weakest to strike. If you're wondering why we didn't just invest in the starting Uchi Katana, this single boss is the reason why. It has strike instead of slash. First attempt actually goes fine. After taking the time to level up our weapon, it seems like we can deal some modest damage. But we do die. Next attempt, I tried summoning the Simpsons to help. Didn't summon them the first time since this boss is immune to bleed, and that's their main purpose, but they're also pretty good distractions. That distraction's all we needed. That and the stance pressure tier we got from killing the Putrid Avatar. The other tier it drops boosts our damage resistance to everything by 10%, so great early game tiers too. 3 bosses down. Before the next boss, I grabbed some more pickled foul feet from the Saoirse Ronan Riverwell. Honestly didn't know these were here, but there are multiple. Nice. Grab these at home too. Grail time, another boss I regularly rock for the runes. A little blood flame on the stars and we can smack the face for extra stance damage and regular damage. Since it's hanging out on the bridge, it's just a lot easier to deal with. Our only reward is a single dragon heart. Grail doesn't have a unique dragon spell. Kind of a bummer, but also not really. That's because we can still use that dragon heart to buy the best dragon spell, Rot Breath. It afflicts rot, the spell version of rot, which is better than the weapon version of rot. It's also the best tool to fight our first Shardbearer and first major gatekeeper, Starscourge Radahn. He's only our 5th boss, but at this point we actually have some pretty good levels, and yeah, we also have Rot Breath. Technically, we don't need to summon anyone. We don't even have to hit him after we get 1 affliction of rot. That's enough to kill Radahn. But we've got 160 more bosses to go, so let's help him along the path to the grave with some blood flame slams. 5 bosses down. Radahn unlocks a few bosses. The Mimic tier is only worth 10k runes though, so that is not who we're aiming for. The other boss he unlocks is Mohg, which means boss 6 is Mohg. That should go great, but to get Mohgwyn we have to make Vari happy, talk to the old crone by the 2 fingers, then to Vari, then fight the Beastman with our superior Greatstars. We had 1 Greatstars, yes, but what about a 2nd Greatstars? I'm not using it. We don't have the Smithing Stone Bell-bearing 1, so we'd have to run around the world for the stones 1 and 2. That sounds like kind of a pain in the ass. Vari gives us his sheet. I go fight Vyke to steal his maiden's blood, give Vari a finger, then warp to Mohgwyn. The travel industry is such a nightmare lately. My Mohg plan is just to break his stance fast, then use wild strikes while he's down. We can't get the Mohg shackle since it's in the sewer, and we can't get to the sewer without killing 2 Shardbearers. Anyway, last thing we need to do, kill Yura so we can go kill Eleonora Samara and get the Mohg tier so that we don't get destroyed in phase 2. Alright, it's Mohgin time. We're gonna start Mohgin all over the place. The Gargoyles and Bloodflame Blade are pretty great for phase 1. He's slow enough to punish with big hits. Phase 2, this kid becomes a squid and starts splatooning the whole arena with extra blood flame. The damage and bleed stack actually isn't the bad part of the blood flame, it's the slight stagger that messes up our dodges. After 3 more deaths, I switch it up, start going for more crits instead of wild strikes. The more damage we can do in phase 1 without bleeding, the more bleeding we can do in phase 2. It's the perfect plan, as long as you ignore the fact that I had to die 5 times to come up with it. Still, 5 deaths to Mohg as our 6th boss? I'm good with that. I know challenge runs and speedruns have broken the collective brains of the Elden Ring community, but I'll be the guy to tell you, if you beat Mohg on your 6th try, you're pretty good at this game. Pat yourself on the back and feel good. If you beat Mohg on your first try, good. Good for you, I guess. Pat yourself on the back too, just don't be a dick about it. Next boss is probably the hardest in the run, Grail. I know we can't take a single hit, so I swap out all my red flasks for blue flasks. We need as much stamina as possible, so I take off everything but the shield since that helps our stamina against this bad dragon. While our damage starts off okay, I realize I have to risk it and hot swap in the casting seal. It pays off. We get the rot off, which is gonna do massive damage against Grail's health bar. It's greedy, but I even put on Bloodflame Blade and avoid the punish. Wild Strikes is amazing for proccing bleed, but it does use up magic, so I need to find a flask window. Really a nightmare against this boss. Thank God we got it off and managed to squeak out a first try win. That's boss number 7. I remember to trade in Mohg's boss hole for the trident.
That's a surprise tool that can help us later.
And we head into the Dragon Barrow Cave for our next boss. Not the wolves, though they do give us a bit of trouble. It's the Beastmen of Farum Azula. They should be easy, except, whoops, someone didn't swap in their red flasks. I guess I have Rot Breath on a +0 seal. Let's summon the Simpsons. Back up and Rot Breath. Somehow, that works. Never punished. Boss 8. War Dead Catacombs for our next boss. Change your flasks. Change your flasks. Oh, I did before the boss. Thank God. I also swapped on Flame of the Redmanes to make our stick hotter. The Putrid Tree Spirit is super weak to fire. That will help. Killing it gives us the Ogha Ashes. Another
surprise tool that can help us later.
Boss number 9. One more boss before we can throw down with another gatekeeper. It's Land Sex. I've never fought her before, but she apparently hooked up with Vike. Whatever makes them happy. I fight Land Sex like every other lightning dragon. Just trade and hope you deal more damage till it's dead. Hasn't failed me yet. Boss 10. Hopefully I can always trade in all future runs, like next week. We actually have 2 bosses to choose from, and both are gatekeepers. The Godskin Noble and the Draconic Tree Sentinel are both worth 50,000 runes. I decided to go for the Godskin Noble, since he's blocking Rykard, worth 130,000 runes, and the Draconic Tree Sentinel is blocking Sewer Mohg, worth 100,000 runes. Noble must know I'm busy, because he actually stays behind the columns for the rollout. What a sweetie, boss 11 down. I was so focused on getting the Serpent Hunter that I forgot to get the Grace, so after I level it up, we have to run all the way back. That's annoying. Rykard with the Serpent Hunter is pretty free, especially if you have plenty of strength and vigor. If you haven't noticed, the build I'm going for is pretty much the vigor only run, but as soon as we hit 60 vigor, I switch to maximize the power of Blood Flame and the stick. Eventually we gotta get the stats for Mohg's spear. We head into the next gatekeeper, the Draconic Tree Sentinel. It gets deleted, not much commentary to add to boss 12. Now we're pretty much just gonna go through the game as intended, each gatekeeper yielding to the next. It's time to beat the game, and you all get to watch me beat it.
Their words are really clear, so beat it. Just beat it.
Actually, you get to watch me die to Elden Stars Jr. from the Erdtree Avatar in the Royal Capital. That's embarrassing. It's not even a boss, just gives out 50,000 runes from a Lord's Rune. Pretty autopilot capital brain here. Ritual Shield Talisman, head in to fight the Golden Shade Godfrey.
What the fuck are you doing?
Oh no! Golden Godfrey is not our next boss, just gotta quit out and head to fight a different shady boss. He's in the sewer, it's Mohg again. There's another omen on the way that has a basilisk join in, and that's pretty terrifying since we didn't get the shortcut yet. I think Godfrey is considered the least magical of Elden Lord partners, but it's interesting that he and 2 of his kids have illusion magic so strong you have to fight their shades. Those 2 being Margit and Mohg, obviously. Maybe Godwin will have a shade in the DLC. This Mohg can't bleed, but he can take big old smackaroos. Boss 14, and 2 of those bosses are Mohg. So far, this game is 1/7 Mohg. Okay, now we can do Golden Godfrey. Also can't bleed. He's an illusion. Kind of weird that Margit can bleed since he's also an illusion. Does that mean Morgott is better or worse at making illusions? It's more real, but that makes it worse. Golden Godfrey, dead. Boss 15. Morgott next. Guess we're really just wiping out the Godfrey line in one trip. It's not that bad of a boss, but we got locked in the Sword Rain and comboed because of it, so that's another death. But Bloodflame Blade on Greatstars is pretty nutty. Easy win. Attempt 2, boss 15, dead. The next boss isn't in the Forbidden Lands, which seems like malarkey, but you don't have to fight anyone here, since we can go to the mountaintops of the giants, where there are bigger bosses that give more runes. Shabriri isn't a boss, but I like his outfit.
Give me that.
What?
Give me that.
We have to boogie around the Rosy for this Somber Stone 7, then grab a regular Stone 10 outside the foot of the forge, and go for the Fire Giant. He's large, and resists fire damage by around 50%, but his bleed resistance isn't great. Actually it is, we just have so much bleed, and in phase 2, his bleed resets, so we can beat our stars on his thigh. Normally you want to beat into his hand, but we're beating so fast it's easy for us to finish this off without even hitting the sensitive spots. Boss 17 down. For Amazula time, we bring in Bernie for the Godskin duo, gives them more health and resistances, but if you're not immune to bleed, you don't resist bleed. We slammed the Chunky, Bernie cleaned out the Skinny while we were doing that, another Chunky, and we're done. Boss 18 down, and we get the Bell Bearing to max out the Greatstars. Alright, time to do some education. I've seen some of you dorks saying you don't have to bring Alex to Faramazula for the shard, you can just kill him whenever. Obviously, you're Geno fans. Hey, me too, he's great. But the shard he gets from killing Alex in Limgrave is the Warrior Jar shard, which boosts your Ashes of War by 10%. The shard I get by finishing Alex's quest is the Alexander Jar shard, which boosts Ashes of War by 15%. You're rewarded for your patience, but Geno's probably doing more calculations to one-shot bosses. How he plays is fine. I just play my way and I like to wait to get the better one. While here, I grab the Golden Lightning Fortification, which we don't have the faith for. I was hoping to use it on the bird run, but oh well, still went fine. Beat the 3 Sentinel first try. It's not a boss, nor are the Beastmen by the Old Lord's Talisman, which will extend our spell buff duration like Bloodflame Blade and Flame Grant Me Strength. Now that's gonna last 39 seconds. Surely our partners will be happier with the extra 9 seconds. Last thing I grab is the Drake set because the drip is immaculate. Sorry I killed Shabriri, but no I'm not. That dude's a demon. It's fine. Maliketh goes fine. The Bloodflame Blade rips through phase 1. It also builds up stance pressure, so by the time he's jumping all around, we can break his ankles. Not in the basketball way. He stops moving and we kill him. Boss 19. Placiduous Axe gives us more runes than Gideon, so shoot. He's next, and I hate this dude. First attempt, I tried getting wild on his thighs, but that is not the move. We get punished and dies. Next attempt, I'm smarter. We break the stance with some charged R2s, then go for the wild strikes on the thighs. While it teleports away, we refresh the buffs, but doesn't matter. The TP phase is what TP should be cleaning up. Poop. Good news, our next death isn't a Placiduous Axe. Bad news, I fell on the way to Placiduous Axe. The real good news is our strategy was solid. Charged attacks first, then wild strikes for bleed. His big charge slam is actually a nice punish window. That's boss 20. Okay, now we can fight Gideon and...
I got numbers on the... Oh! Yo, did he just walk up slowly and down smash?
He did.
Boss 21. Godfrey goes a little rougher, but only because I broke the first rule of Elden Ring, don't get grabbed. Bloodflame blading and swinging away is pretty dang strong. Boss 22. Before beating down Radahn, I want wild strikes on a hot weapon. But to do that, we need the red hot wet blade from the Redmane Castle. Can't wait for the Method Main Castle in the DLC. First attempt with Radahn, we break the rules again and get grabbed. Silly goose move for sure. Next attempt, we prove that hot stick is hot. Radahn has 0 fire resistance. The Simpsons die really fast, but it's not too bad to do this solo. We beat the game with 23 bosses and 29 deaths, but that's not what we're doing today. We're doing everything. So first, the hard stuff. Okay, so Borealis fight is fine. Boss 24, just whack the dragon with the stick. Speaking of dragons, let's head into the cringe folk hero's grave, my people. The Dragon Communion Seal will scale the best with our high arcane, even though Bloodflame Blade doesn't scale with arcane at all. Not for the bleed proc and not for the raw fire damage. It's baloney. Anyway, we're ready to take on the next big gatekeeper, Nile, in the castle's hole. We open up his hole and the holes of his friends. So many holes, so little time. That's boss 25. This is where I have a big brain blast. I haven't been using Ogha since I didn't think we could level him up past +4 without being the Mimic tier, but I was wrong. First, we get all the stuff for +4 in Nokron. Then we fall down the sewer behind Mohg perfectly, first try, and fail falling down the Dankroot depths. I hate the roots a lot. Not the band. The band's pretty good. I don't like these. With the Dankroot depths unlocked, we can ride the grave to the Incel Rivermane and finish off our Ghost Glovewort mission. Say hi to Phalanx Demon's Holes, crush some balls, and ta-da, that's a +10 Ogha. A much better Spear Dash than the Simpsons. And the Simpsons are pretty good. This old man isn't a boss, but he does give us another piece of the Haligtree medallion so we can make our way to the consecrated snowfield. Anastia isn't a boss. Every time someone tells me how to say her name in the comments, I will say Anastia 5 more times. The heavy artillery turtle, or hat if you like acronyms, is also not a boss, but we clean its toes before the next boss if we don't want to get shelled while fighting it. That's a play on words, shelled like a turtle shell, but also like heavy artillery. I want a Holy Ash of War, but we screwed up by not getting the Sanctified Whetblade from the Fortified Manor. Now it's buried in an Erd tree's worth of ashes. Whoops. So I just grabbed the Prayerful Strike. It's fine. I mean, it's not totally fine. The Deathrite bird kills me the first time. This one has a lot of damage, and I'll be honest, I hate these things and never fight them. Second try goes better. It's just a matter of getting in there with the Holy Hammer. 26 bosses down. Now we can go for another Gatekeeper. The Liturgical Town is gatekeeping a gatekeeper. Kind of a hat on a hat. This death is kind of funny though. I thought we'd warp out of the Everjail before I landed, but we didn't, and did at the same time, so I died. Also wild. The Haligtree is a terrible place. You can get gank bullied by so many enemies. Today it's the Crystallian. Tomorrow, who knows? This version of Loretta bleeds, so it's pretty free. Just swing away until she's horse meat. Boss 27. Hey, with Loretta dead, can you guess which boss gives the most runes? I'll let you get your answers in while we run through Elefel and scoop up the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman for more physical resistance. You know, Malenia didn't technically beat Radahn, so let's go activate Radahn's Great Rune. It's the only Great Rune we can activate at the moment since Morgott and Rykards are locked behind the gatekeeping Fell twins. I guess we have Mohg's auto-activated, but Radahn is much better for our uses, giving us 15% more HP, FP, and SP. Last prep item is the Golden Vow, and I test Mohg's Trident Ash of War on Anastia. It's Blood Rain, and it's pretty nice. It's also a great cheese method to beat Malenia. Every drop of blood applies stance pressure and poise pressure. Every bleed breaks her poise automatically and stops whatever she was trying to do. There is so much bleed. Ogha is also great at cheesing Malenia. Technically, I think they can solo her. Since their arrows knock Malenia over, if you just walk away and don't lock on, they'll spam Malenia to death. It's really slow though, so I want to make it rain. First try we made it to phase 2, but ran out of magic, and the spear is kind of slow on its own, so we take 1 L. Second try we run into an issue with an improperly spaced Ash of War. If you're not close enough to her, she can dash in through it and interrupt you. But third try, we nail it. The flower might seem like it protects her with its giant rot AoE, but the rain is just a bit bigger, or I'm walking in right at its ending. Either my timing or my spacing is immaculate. I'm immaculate. That's the takeaway. Boss 28, probably the hardest boss we're gonna have to deal with. Though there is still some cleanup before things get really easy.
Like a baby, a bit of a piece of pie.
First up, the rest of the consecrated snowfield, at least the big ones here. Theodorix is a magma worm, but he's gonna meg my job real easy if he sits still and lets us make his nuts bleed. That's boss 29. The putrid avatar is a putrid avatar. That's boss 30. We have to kill the yellow anus ruins to get to Astel, bloodborn of the void, but we don't even summon. I also forgot to switch back to the heavy form from the fire infusion that we had against the putrid avatar, so that means no blood flame blade, but it's all good. We clear it out, boss 31. Did you know Miyazaki is good friends with the creator of Saturday Night Live? He even put it in a cave just for him. This one's forlorn. The boss at the bottom is meant to be evocative of his friend, because just like Lorne Michaels, he's terrible at fighting. Misbegotten Crusader? I hardly know her. Boss 32. We finally struggle again against the Knights Cavalry duo. It's bad enough to fight 1 Knights Cavalry, but 2 is excessive. We die, and this fight takes forever, so let me vent. Horseback fighting sucks. This boss is better to fight on a horse, but the game never teaches you how to fight on a horse. Your first step into Limgrave, you see the tree sentinel. You don't have a horse, and you try and fight it. It whomps you. You come back with a horse thinking that's gonna turn the tide, but the fight goes worse. The game teaches you your horse is not for combat. It's to get you through the big world so you can find stronger stuff to come back and bully the thing that bullied you. So you never learn how to fight on a horse, and then the Knights Cavalry kill you. Just once though. The drip is great though. Boss 33. Helpful tip for the giant conquering hero's grave, you don't have to go to the basement, just pull the lever and bait the giant into the sun, then break his ankles. Wow, now I'm a giant conquering hero. Oh no, that means this is my grave. Just kidding, it's the hero of Zamor's grave, and they are toast. Boss 34. Lake of Rot is harder than the boss it blocks. Astel, hefty naturals of the Void. It's like Bloodborne of the Void, with a little less health and damage, so easier. Boss 35. Then we're back to the Consecrated Snowfield for the Consecrated Snowfield Catacombs, an area I've never been through. There's ice traps, fanged simps, and labyrinthian design, but my soul's IQ is high enough to find the lever and get to the boss, the Grave Warden Duelist. I didn't heal. This dude is a Chad. They're all Chads in all their forms, tossing their cape off before diving in with melee weapons. Please give me a Grave Warden Spirit Ash in the DLC, or an emote to throw the cape off if you have the sewing kit maybe. That'd be really cool. Boss 36. Mountaintop of the Giants Marathons, Deathbird, Bonk Bonk, Vike, more like Wild Strike, another Erdtree Avatar, wait, 2? Did I even let it get to 2? I don't remember. And finally, the Spirit Caller Cave, which offers you great advice. Call her. It's the Godskin duo, but immune to status effects and one at a time, followed by a snail that I don't think has any attacks. Bosses 37, 38, 39, and 40. Okay, now we're bouncing all over the place. First, we kill this gargoyle as a personal favor to the president. That's for Biden. It's Jover for you, Corn Pop. Next, a Dragonkin soldier in the Lake of Rot. Never fought this dude before. The idea of fighting a boss in a poop swamp seems poopy, but it's actually all good. Our damage is so cracked, we just walk forward and smash. I thought I'd let Ogha solo the stray mimicked here in the hidden path to the Halig tree, but they took too long, so I show him how it's done. Time for another hard boss, or more like a boss I don't know how to deal with. The Bell-Bearing Hunter in the Dragon Barrow. Walking forward and pressing R1 doesn't work. This boss is broken. FromSoft, nerf him. Apparently he has a grab, so I broke the rule again. It's only 2 deaths, considering how rarely I fight these dudes. I don't feel too bad about that. That's a 41, 42, 43, and 44. Time to embarrass myself further. First, the Mountaintop's Catacombs and a Gravity Death. This is another one I've straight up never explored. My soul's IQ finds us the lever, then we fire slam the ulcerated tree spirit. The Knight's Cavalry in Caelid is free, just bait it, and
You triggered my trap card!
Fine, just hit it with a stick. 2 more silly goose falls in the Deeproot depths because I don't like platformers. Then we hit Fia's champions all around, pretty free with the wild strikes, and just walking forward, bosses 45, 46, and 47. Now we're on to baby food.
Simple as that, very simple as. Ask about that, pretty simple, man.
Exocus can be kind of a pain if he decides to meme you and run away a lot, but we're able to smack him down. Rod enemies are weak to fire, and we have a fire bonk stick. The Knight's Cavalry is another presidential favor. This is the last one in the 4 Biden lands. Please forgive my student loans. I beat up a horse and a gargoyle. Bosses 50 and 51. 2 funny things happen in the Ariza hero's grave. Number 1 is at my expense. I solved the puzzle before breaking the chariots, but assume there's a lever somewhere that opens the boss door. So I'm running around on precarious ledges and dealing with a bunch of basilisks when I could have just opened the unlocked door. I used to be a D&D YouTuber. This is in my blood. Number 2 is a great tip for all of you. If you summon Ogha against the Crucible Knight duo, something breaks their AI. If I had to guess, Ogha's arrows are pushing the knights out of their spawn location, and therefore they don't have any reaction because the game codes their reaction to the specific spawn location, maybe? Not sure. But I really could have just sat down and waited for Ogha to shoot them. Instead, I go hit them. But even hitting them doesn't break their AI out of it. Amazing. If you're ever struggling with these 2, go burn the Putrid Tree Spirit and come back for a free win. That's boss 52. 1 more embarrassing death, then I stop dying for a while. I underestimate Godefroy because it's Godefroy. I can't just walk up slowly and down smash. That's a silly goose move for sure. Another Crucible Knight in the Dankroot Depths. She's another boss I've never fought before, but I think my strategy is solid. Get stupid over-leveled and womp her. I used to fight Makar every run before I started doing Fort Height. It's kind of nostalgic. Gives me that worm fuzzy feeling. Elmer of the Fudd is giving me more Bell-Bearing Hunter practice. That's helpful. That's probably helpful for a run where I'll need consumables. Don't know when that run will be, but there's boss 53, 54, 55, and 56. I have the unfortunate pleasure of running through the Lindell Catacombs a lot, but that means I don't get lost in its wibbly-wobbly layout. Esker should be free, but he kinda has hands, or I guess his dogs have hands. There's just a lot of bleed that can proc really, really fast. We don't die, but it seemed bad for a second. Next, the fully grown Falling Star Beast. Worth pointing out that all the setup we did early gave us a lot of graces to let us just hop around the world quickly. Gelmnir Hero's Grave next. The puzzle solution is supposed to be falling down a narrow ledge, climbing up a ladder, and dropping down onto the chariot. I've been memed by that too many times, either missing the first ledge or taking falling damage by missing the chariot for some reason, then getting killed by it running me over. So here's my puzzle solution. Quick step through the lava and have a bunch of extra vigor. Works every time. Red Wolf of the Champion is just a dog. Dogs don't like being hit by hammers. Then we beat down another Bell-Bearing Hunter in Altus without dying. That's 57, 58, 59, and 60. We don't don't kill Gostok on the way to Godric because, I don't know, we just didn't need to. Fun Godric fact, if you beat him before he enters phase 2, the dragon head in his arena stays there. Nice attention to detail since he rips it off in the transition cutscene. The Tree Sentinel duo don't really duo. One of us fights us and the other doesn't join in. That's fine, I'd prefer to go one at a time anyway. This Magma Worm is near Fort Lade, but it's not getting lucky. It's getting laid to rest. Further up the mountain, we fight the Snake Treater, then back in Redmane Castle, the Misbegotten with a Crucible Knight. Don't know why they team up, but we clean up. Did you know the Dragonkin Soldier in the Saoirse Ronan Riverwell is worth more runes than the Dragonkin Soldier of Nokstella? That's funny. The second one is a trophy. At the bottom of the sealed tunnel, we body that Onyx Lord, and oh my god, we died fighting the Deathrite bird in Caelid. It stun locks us on its frostbite fire. God, I hate these birds. Come back for revenge, and that's 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, and 68. So I know what you're waiting for. It's almost here. But first, we gotta do the Ariza side tomb and its annoying teleporter puzzle. By Soul's IQ pulls us through in a tight 6 minutes. That took forever. Giga Chad Grave Ward and Duelist with the pots is our number 69. Nice. It had to be someone who was cool. I'm glad it was him. Then an ulcerated tree spirit in the Cringe Folk Hero's grave for number 70. We finally have another gatekeeper here, the Red Wolf of Radahn. It's weaker than the one in the Gelmnir grave though, so that's pretty free. Moongrim falls down on our way to the Shardbearer, Renala. Smashing the kids only takes 1 cycle to get into phase 2, and the whole fight takes about a minute. I thought she'd unlock the Moonlight Altar, but we can't get to the bottom of Nokron till we kill the Mimic tier, so we can't do the Ranni quest. She's not actually a gatekeeper. Raya Lucaria gives us 71 and 72. At least we can respec for more endurance and strength to hit harder and wear heavier armor to poise through more attacks. We don't need all that arcane and faith anymore. Smaragd flies around a lot, as it is wont to do. Then we head to Altus to break a Tibia Mariner's bones and tilt at the Godskin Apostle's windmill. This is way easier than the one in the Divine Tower of Caelid, and therefore it is worth way less runes. Maggie up on Gelmnir drops the Memory Stone we don't need. There's no real reason to cast spells anymore. We can just unga bunga through the rest of the game. Weirdly, we fight the Saoirse Ronan Ancestor Spirit before the Regal one. Again, that's because we have to get through the Mimic, which is lower down. 77 bosses. When do we get to the Mimic? After Erdtree Burial Watchdog in the Windhand Catacombs. O'Neill, who gives us a better buff with the Commander's Standard. Now it only takes 3 hits to kill the Dragonkin Soldier of Nokstella. The Black Knife Assassin is worth a weird amount of runes and unlocks the Sainted Hero's grave. We bait the Grave Warden to their doom, then body the Ancient Hero of Zamor. Falling Star Beast in Altus just runs away a lot, which is pretty boring. Then Margot gets robbied, and we finally fight the Mimic tier at boss number 85, unlocking so many bosses. We can go to the Moonlight Altar for a Dula and oh wait, no, we have to do Loretta to talk to Ranni. So, never mind. This just unlocks the Valiant Gargoyles. It goes fine. They should maybe make that Poison Cloud they have a Servants of Rot spell. We need more Servants of Rot spells, and an Ouchie Cloud that also applies poison could be pretty nice. The Regal Ancestor Spirit, which is a bigger deer than the Saoirse Ronan one, but it's not that much harder. 86 and 87. Now we need to work our way to Loretta. Knights Cavalry in Altus, Kindred of Rot in the Seedwater Cave, struggle to find the virgins, crush the virgins, Dr. Wormface. He's not a real doctor, but he is a real worm in face. Putrid Avatar in Caelid, that one drops the fire boosting tier. Old Altus Tunnel for the Stone Digger Troll, he has fire I guess, but so do we. Perfumer Tricia and her Misbegotten. The Putrid Crystallion, which is weak to strike, so RIP. Garrus in the Sage's Cave, he's not the Mass Effect character I'd prefer to kill. The Crystallion duo is weak to strike, doesn't have rot, and has 1 less member than the trio, so, you know, back to the Sage's Cave to fight an invisible Black Knife Assassin. I can't see it, but Ogha can. I tried fighting her, but it was annoying getting grabbed, so I just replied to some Discord messages while Ogha took care of it. Sanguine Noble and another Knights Cavalry in Caelid. The only thing interesting about this one is its boss number 100. Hooray! It is finally time to kill Gilka, the Ritual Sword Talisman will make all of this 10% faster as long as we don't take damage. I fell in the Perfumer Grotto, didn't realize there was an Astel Jr. who would push me off. Omen Killer and Miranda at the end, that's a Mass Effect character I'd be happy to kill. Deathrite Bird in Liurnia takes 2 hits. Huge takes a huge amount of damage. I put the ladder down for myself in Celia Tunnel like 10 hours ago. Thanks for looking out, past Phil. Then we bash the Falling Star Beast and we can finally go into Caria Manor and beat down Gatekeeper Loretta. She doesn't bleed, but the meat version of her was like 8 hours ago, and we are stupid over-leveled for everything. Thankfully, talking to Ranni lets us go get 3 more endgame level bosses. After talking to Ranni and friends, I feel like I needed to try something in Nokron. This doesn't seem that far, right?
Oh my god! Oh jeez! Oh my god! Oh jeez!
Whoops, at least now you know that too. Knife for Ranni and statue from Ranni. Flip that study hall, get the curse mark of death, or COD if you like acronyms. Now we can play Black Ops with Fia and open up Fortisax. Now this is a boss, except, oh god, it kinda isn't. Just blood flame up and trade with the toes. Just because we can't look at them doesn't mean we can't finish on them. After talking to this real doll of Ranni, we can fight Shadow the Hedgehog. To find out the lore reasons, look up Shadow the Hedgehog real doll on your work computer. Moon Mommy gives us a ring, and now we can hit the Moonlight Altar to fight a doula. Much like the last bad dragon, we just aim for those toes. This one teleports for some reason. It wasn't even in a jank zone. I don't know what the deal is there. Finish up on those toes and move to Electo. We just walk up slowly and smash. I really thought these bosses would provide at least a little more of a heart rate spike, but it's still pretty free. It's bosses 107, 108, and 109. These are the last ones worth more than 50,000 runes. So if we were fighting baby food earlier, what's easier than that? Back to rapid fire boss fights. Magma Worm in the Gale Tunnel doesn't stand up. That makes it harder than Makar in my opinion. Double the Erdtree Burial Watchdogs in the minor Erdtree Catacombs. It goes fine. Honestly, all the side dungeons remind me of the Chalices in Bloodborne. Technically it adds some more to the game, but you'd probably enjoy the game more if you just played the good bits. They should have abandoned a lot of these. Speaking of, the Abandoned Cave and the Cleanrot Knights. That gives us the Golden Scarab for 20% more runes. Finally! How many runes did we miss out on by not having this? Well, we currently have 12,288,089 runes, which puts us at level 177, assuming we never dropped runes. We dropped runes. With an extra 20%, that would have been 14,745,706 runes, or around 187. The later levels cost a lot more. Cemetery Shade is a one-shot, haha. We thread the needle falling down the Gale Cave and die, so, not totally safe anymore. The Frenzy Duelist is safe though. I want to see my favorite actor, Mr. Cage, so let's go to the C. Nick Isle and fight a Deathbird. Are these puns keeping you engaged? They're not too obnox-duo-is. Sorry, I don't want to brag about my pun game. I might get a big head, or should I say a pumpkin head. We can beg forgiveness at the Church of Vows, but for some reason, the bell-bearing hunter isn't showing up. Oh god, do we have to kill the dog pope?
I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it.
I can't believe it. We really have to exhaust his dialogue. Just had to talk to him about Radahn, and the bad guy shows up. It's boss 118, bonky bonk. There's two types of Elden Ring players, those who like cloned bosses and those who like cloned bosses. FromSoft originally had one type of player, but they cloned them, so now there's two. Erdtree Avatar in Liurnia South and Erdtree Avatar in Liurnia North. Knights Cavalry in Liurnia South and Knights Cavalry in Liurnia North. Another, Hero of Zamor. Grail, but no bridge. Capra Demon, hey, this one's not even from Elden Ring. And another Tibia Mariner for 126 bosses. We can grab our balls at the Cuckold Everjail. You might not think I get to beat it here, but beating it is all you can do in this one. Erdtree Avatar again, Deathbird again, Dan Avadan from Game Grumps, and Castle Morn. But don't even stop for the graces. It's another Misbegotten, then another Onyx Lord for boss 132. Guess what kind of boss is in the Black Knife Catacombs? A Cemetery Shade. Weird. There is actually a Black Knife Assassin in here too, but it's not worth a lot of runes, so first we have to kill the Knights Cavalry in the Weeping Peninsula, the Crystallian Duo in Liurnia, and the Grafted Scion. First boss we see, 136th boss we kill. Black Knife Assassin time? Nope. Tree Sentinel. A lot of people's first bosses they fight. The Royal Revenant. Did I switch to Bloodborne without realizing it? Finally get that first Crystallian, so if we wanted to do 2 Greatstars, we could. But I'd rather not waste the time doing that. We have to talk about a Deathbird in Limgrave. Not really, it's dead. I fell looking for the Cliff Bottom Catacombs in Jarburg. Look, I did it without a map pulled up, okay? It's embarrassing, I'm admitting it. Then we dive in and smack up the Burial Watchdog and cross through the Lakeside Crystal Cave to give the Bloodhound Knight the bad touch. Is that a reference that people are gonna get? I feel like I do so many jokes that are just for me and like one other person. If you're that person, for any of those jokes, shout it out, boss 142. A bunch of bosses we've killed harder versions of, but hey, we don't have to anymore. Bell-bearing Hunter in Limgrave. I was wondering if the Ash of the Erdtree would change the cave's layout, but no, still water. Cleanrot Knight, Impaler's Catacombs. We beat down another Erdtree Burial Watchdog, the last Tibia Mariner in Limgrave, the last Knights Cavalry in Limgrave, and a Rune Bear in the Earthbore Cave. In the, I missed the name of this cave. I log these videos at 10 times speed. I'm typing bosses so fast. I miss stuff. Spirit Caller Snail, that's a boss. Then a Cemetery Shade somewhere, and the Crucible Knight in Limgrave. Finally, we kill Miranda again. If I have one critique of Mass Effect 2 as a game, it's that Miranda can only die once. Elden Ring fixes that for me, boss 152. I've seen a lot of tunnels, but how about one more? There's actually more than one left. Misbegotten be getting gotten. Then Foxtrot and Uniform Charlie Kilo up the Bloodhound Knight Darwill and go through another tunnel for the Stone Digger Troll. If you actually are new to Elden Ring, do the Murkwater Catacombs first. The puzzle is easy, the boss is dope, it's a Grave Ward Duelist, and the reward is a great Spirit Ash to carry your little noob buns through the early game. High Road Cave is low, so hit the Guardian Golem low on its ankles, and finally go back to the Black Knife Catacombs for the Black Knife Assassin. Logging, I always just type in BK Assassin to get the notes out faster, boss 158. In the Death Touch Catacombs, we fight the last Burger King Assassin, then fight the first Elden Ring boss I ever fought, an Erdtree Burial Watchdog. I summoned Istvan for the Demi-Human Chives, couldn't do it without summoning, I am a scrub after all. Final Pumpkinhead to save Sellen, then Groveside Cave for the Beastman of Ramazula, boss 163, only 2 left. To get to Patches, we have to kill Nerd Juice and then run through the cave and...
He didn't make it.
Wait, Patches disappears after you kill Rykard? I'm kind of upset we didn't get that boss kill, but I'm more upset that we could have had Pickles the entire time. That's 30% extra runes that we just threw away. How many runes is that? Well, we currently have 12,471,114 runes, which is level 178. That's one more level since the Clean Rot Knights. With 30% more runes, that's 16,212,448 runes, or 193. Mix in that Golden Scarab 2, and we're at 19,454,937, or level 203. So, Margot's gone. There's only one boss left for this first game cycle, and it's a doozy. Earlier, I brought up Gino, and you should totally check out his Fist Only run. It's bananas. It's super entertaining. But there is a boss. He was too cowardly to fight Fist Only. Soldier of God, Rick. I even dropped all my armor and get to punching. We need these backstabs to keep the pressure up. He doesn't make it easy. This sword attack is hard to dodge, and this sword attack can 2-frame you on the recovery of your dead frames. The data on this sword attack closes your gap and puts you in a punish state for a 7-frame reaction. Do I sound like I know the video game? Will people think I'm cool? It doesn't matter if it actually means anything, right? There's the game. We beat it. 164 bosses, which isn't enough. So, new game plus, Cowabunga into Limgrave, then sprint right for Margit. He has a little more health and damage than he did in the first game cycle, but it is not a big deal. Also, can't believe I didn't mention this earlier, if you kill Morgott, Margit dies. Also, you get the pocket you would have gotten killing Margit here. Anyway, Nerd Juice is juicier than he was the first time, and by that I mean he bleeds more blood. Patches is our final boss, but his shield is no match for the guy who beat every other harder boss first. After 17 hours and 10 minutes, we died 47 times and killed 166 bosses? Wait, that's one too many. Does Grail not count as a boss? It's the only one without a health bar. Overall, this lands in the A tier, ahead of Charizard. Obviously, starting out with 2.5 hours of no bosses makes our time kinda slow, and struggling to take down hard bosses without levels stacks up deaths pretty quickly. But believe it or not, coming back to Limgrave at level 150 lets you kill a lot of bosses really fast without dying. It's a pretty fun challenge, and puts your game knowledge to the test while you're routing. I recommend this one. I'll post the list in order on my Patreon at the lowest tier, so go check it out if you want to try that. Follow me on Twitch to watch these runs live. We're having Chat Fight Bloodborne at 500 subs, and we're getting closer and closer to that. And make sure you're subscribed here as well. We'll have a new run for you next week.